Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at Groudon in the Open Master League. If you saw my tier list video for the Master League, you most days saw as well that I put Groudon fairly low-ish into the A+ tier. Before it was basically always the S tier, especially with Pressure's Blade. And I have to say, maybe I was a little bit wrong, because I was playing a few games with Lantern, which maybe you saw already at this point, maybe not, who knows. Was actually a lot of fun with it, but also I encountered like one player that was running a Dragon Tail variant of the Groudon, and I was like thinking, this might be actually very smart for the current meta, because the main issue for Groudon is currently that Landorus, which we have on the team as well, and Palkia, which we also have on the team, which is kinda not intentional, are very big threats for this Pokemon, because you don't really do too much damage against it. And so here we're going to run Dragon Tail kinda also as a bait, because what we can try to do here is we can use it as a Say Swap. We have a Dragon type Pokemon in the lead, we're going to have this as a Say Swap, and we can kinda bait out sometimes some Dragon type Pokemon. If this happens today, I actually don't know. I just put in my last 2 sets of this team. I actually did 4 sets with this team, climbed up quite a bit. A very, very good team. Highly can recommend to you. Here, by the way, Draco Media comes in clutch. I still don't have Spatial Rent, of course, as it's currently unavailable to get, but here Dragon Tail is chunking away and we can win the first game. But yeah, it definitely gives you some benefits against a lot of Pokemon, like also even Ho-Oh. For example, if we get Ho-Oh kinda low, we're going to be able to just go for the farm down then with Dragon Tail, which is going to be great. And so also against like Palkias that want to swap into you, you can actually go into the 2-shield scenario and just farm them all the way down, which is kinda wild. There are a lot of matchups where Dragon Tail is really good for this Pokemon. Here we're going to see, by the way, one interesting thing which I found out with like Landorus at least. Here, by the way, this is a very silly move. I did not expect that they would go into a Mammospine. I was like, Ice type, hell yeah. Like, Rock is going to be super effective. It wasn't. But the opponent decided to use a shield anyway, so it doesn't really matter anyway either. But what we can still do here is we can align our Palkia. But basically, you're going to have quite a lot of matchups where you can win now with the Groudon, which is going to be great. Like also now against the Ho-Oh, we can try to maybe catch a move here, which is going to hopefully be great for us. Let's see if we can actually do this. The opponent is going to go for a charge move now. Look at this. Dragon Tail is coming through. We can easily take a Brave Bird from the opponent. And let's see what they have in the back. We can go for the full farm down. Maybe you saw it already. It was, of course, yeah, the Mammospine. And so we could go for the Fire Punch, but of course we can also go for the Pressure's Blade. This is going to knock them out, and we can easily win this next battle as well. I went a total of 4-1 for my first set that I did with this team, 2-3 for my second, where I encountered a certain Pokemon, which we most likely still going to see in this video as well. Like basically 4 times, I think, which is going to be basically the Pokemon that breaks the entire team, which we definitely going to still see. And then I went 5-0 and 3-2 for my last one, so definitely a good climb with this team. 3 times positive, 1-5-0, 1-4-1 is kind of nice as well. So for sure a team that I would recommend you to try out. But there's one Pokemon that is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm not going to talk about it yet. Maybe you can guess it in the comment section at this point. We're going to very likely see it in this video as well, because in the elo range I am currently, where it's kind of a little bit of lower-ish elo, like not crazy low, but a little bit lower than I'm usually at. Here, by the way, that's super unfortunate they survived with 1 HP, otherwise I would have been able to win this game most likely as well. But yeah, in the elo range I'm currently in, there is one Pokemon that's sadly very common, not as common like high up elo, but maybe you can see it very soon. Next opponent, what I have to say here as well, I encountered quite a lot of Ho-Oh leads all of a sudden. Like, I haven't really encountered them too much before when I played at like 2500 elo range, and now I encounter so many more Ho-Ohs in like lower elo range, which I find kind of interesting. Ho-Oh still very, very solid Pokemon. Not as great as last season for sure, as Palkia is now available and like being a little bit more of a meta threat. But here, for example, we see already why Dragon Tail is just such a good move to go for. We can chunk away the health of the opponent's Dragonite, putting them into farm down range basically for our own Palkia, and we're gonna get out the opponent's Groudon, but they are not running Dragon Tail, they're running Mudshot, so we do a lot more damage with our fast move, but they're gonna generate a lot more energy. Going for a charge move here, it's going to be very likely a Fire Punch from them, which is going to put us into farm down range, which is kind of unfortunate. Should have went for just 2 Fire Punches, but it is what it is. We can swap into our Landorus, and Landorus is just such a great answer against the Groudon, and that's exactly why we run Dragon Tail, because it can actually flip this matchup with Dragon Tail, just because you do way more fast move damage against them. Here, we're gonna see attack drop is coming through, going to be okay for us. The opponent goes for the Fire Punch, and I can just spam those Sensia Storms, but they decide to swap out into their own Dragonite. I can go for a charge move. This would most likely knock them out or like get them very close to it, but they decide to use a shield, and so we can go for the full farmland against them. In comes another Dragon Claw from them. We can go for the full farmland, and we can win this game as the opponent decides to forfeit. Next opponent, we're going to have a Mewtwo in the lead. Here, by the way, the Mewtwo matchup is very interesting with Palkia if you don't have Spatial Rent. If you have Spatial Rent, you can just go straight for it and you win the Zero Shield scenario. Otherwise, you're always going to lose the Zero Shield scenario, but if you go for Awkward Tail, you can just use one shield and farm them down, which is going to be okay for you as well. So, like, it's not a bad matchup at all, but you might have to use an extra shield. But you're also going to get out of this matchup with, like, around 50 energy if you go for the Awkward Tail. Not really 50, like, more like 40 energy. But it's going to be fine. They're going to go into these Xerneas, and I decided to swap into my Say Swap of Groudon. A lot of times the opponents swap out immediately then because they think, oh, that's a great hard answer. But here they stayed in, and in comes now the opponent's Ho-Oh. And we can still go for the Pressless Blade, which is kind of great. The opponent is going to let this move go through. And so you see already I chunk away the health of the opponent as I can even reach another Fire Punch. They sneak in an extra fast move here, which is a little bit unfortunate for us. Could have went for one or more Dragon Tail, but I don't know if this is going to matter anyway, as we can go for another charge move here against the opponent. Awkward Tail is coming through. They decide to use a shield. I'm gonna decide to go ahead and also use a shield. As the Brave Bird is coming through, we can go for the full farm down still. We can swap out immediately, which will allow us to get the opponent's attack lowered. So even if they're going to knock me out now, I'm still gonna get them basically into a range where their fast move does like 1 damage against the Palkia. And Palkia is very, very close to an Awkward Tail. I'm still definitely gonna get off another Sensia Storm, which might not be enough to knock them out. Let's find out here. As the Sensia Storm is coming through, is going to be enough to knock them out. It's going to be close. It is not, but let's see. Maybe we can farm them all the way down. We cannot. They can still get the knockout here, but even Dragon Breath at this point will be enough to knock them out, and so we can win this game. Let's move on here. We're going to see a Rayquaza. Rayquaza is going to be okay for us. We can just go ahead and go for the Dragon Breath down. If we don't get a debuff here, that's going to be great because then the opponent has basically no shot. We can just go for the full farm down. And this is exactly what's going to happen now. We can still survive this one. We're going to leave here with basically 2 Awkward Tails as well, which is going to be great. In comes now the Fairy type of Zacian as I swap out into the Kyogre. And this is going to be a little bit scary. I decided to go for the bait here with Fire Punch. Fire Punch is going to still get the shield, which is very fortunate for us because otherwise we would have been kind of screwed here. So the opponent goes for a Surf. I'll let this move go through. I have to hope that they decide to let go the Draco Meteor of our Dragon type Pokemon here basically. Let's see if they're gonna do this. I hope so. Like, it is the only way of us winning this game, and we can get this move off. But we don't even know if we can still win this game is the question here. We can still go for an Awkward Tail, but it's going to be very awkward, as the opponent is going to have still, like, basically the same amount of shields, but they're going to have a lot more energy than I have. So we have to hope that we kind of get them into a range where we can still win with just basically our Landorus. It's going to be very, very close. I have no idea if we can actually still win this game here. The opponent still has their shield left, of course. They can go for a charge move. It is going to be that Play Rough coming through, doing a lot of damage, but I'm not too sure. Maybe after this debuff we can still survive one. That would be great for us, but let's see if we can still get to the next charge move. We can, and this is going to be it for this game. Landorus is so overpowered, for sure, S+ tier. If you saw my video yesterday, or like the day prior maybe even, I don't know, definitely such a good Pokemon. And next opponent, we're going to have here a very interesting matchup as well. We're going to have our Landorus aligned against the Xerneas, a matchup that you're basically always going to win. I'm still going to decide to use a shield on the first one. The Moonblast is going to not get the debuff, which is kind of great. I guess like if Moonblast gets the debuff there, we might not put them into farm down range afterwards, so maybe they would have a chance of winning then. But like this, we can just go ahead. I think this is actually not even farm down range. I think we still have to go for a charge move here. Let's find out. No, okay, I can actually go for the full farm down. In comes the Kyogre, which allows us to at least get some damage onto them as well. In comes also the Sensia Storm. Can we still reach the Stone Edge? We cannot, and so I'm forced to go for another Sensia Storm. We might actually still survive that waterfall because of this. We do not, but in comes the Pokemon that I was talking about earlier on. This thing is literally my nightmare. Togekiss is just basically impossible to win if they have 2 shields, because you still do damage, of course, with Awkward Tail, you still do damage with, like, Fire Punch, but it is just not really working out. Like, this Pokemon is just, like, such an insane wall to most of the Pokemon that I, like, have here on my team. It is so annoying to deal with. Like, Togekiss is by far the most difficult Pokemon to deal with for this team. There's none other Pokemon really that is scary for this team. Everything else we can kind of beat with this. But like, Togekiss is literally a nightmare. We can actually still get an Awkward Tail off, and this is going to allow us to get hopefully a knockout here. We do. And so the opponent's Kyogre has nowhere to go. They're going to go for a Surf, but I think I still should be fine here winning this game. Let's see. I don't think they get to another one. They do not, and we can get to an Awkward Tail to knock them out. So that's going to be a good game. But Togekiss is literally a nightmare for this team. So, next opponent, Reshiram lead. This is actually kind of favorable for you, but I still decided to swap out because my backline is a little bit better against it. I decided to go for a shield here as well. Fusion Flare would most likely knock me out, but they decided to go for a crunch. Great play, but it doesn't really help them because I didn't actually get the debuff, and I make a crucial mistake in this battle. We're gonna see the opponent going into their Palkia. Very smart, very okay for us. I kind of want to get more damage onto them, and at this point, it just does not make sense to go for Fire Punch. Just go for Presses Blade and you would be fine. I decided to go for the Fire Punch, and it is like such a silly move to go for, because it's clear that the opponent would still just no-shield this at this point because they were so low. So that was completely, like, it made no sense at all. So I had to kind of pull off a little bit of a trick here and look at the lag as well with the Landorus, but I had to go for the full farm with the Landorus in order to have like any play in this battle, because I needed to kind of have some kind of advantage here. The energy advantage is coming in clutch as the opponent is completely weak against Landorus. And this is amazing, as now Sensei Storm can just debuff the opponent the entire time. They cannot really swap out because the lead is also not really ideal here, and so we can just go for another Sensei Storm. This is going to be able to get them kind of low. I can actually go for a CMP tie next, which they're forced to use a shield on, and so we're gonna still try to swap out next. As you're gonna see here, the opponent is gonna go for a charge move. I can try to swap out. They have the Reshiram still. I would outspeed the Reshiram with an Awkward Tail, but I can also just go for the full farm down, and with this game is over. Awkward Tail is going to come through, going to connect, going to knock them out, and we can easily win this game. Let's see here, second to last battle, great Elite Force. Let's see what they swap into. They swap into Togekiss, and here we see why this is kinda awkward. Yeah, what can I do, what can I do? We can go for the Sensei Storm, which is going to be a little bit of a risky play, as they don't have to shield the Stone Edge. They actually still survived the first Stone Edge. Now they wouldn't, but it is just very, very, awkward here. They have to kind of shield this one now, I think, because otherwise they're gonna go down, and they want to realign. And as they're gonna see here, I should have went for the bait. I should have went for the Sensei Storm again. I have to go for triple Sensei Storm basically in order to have a chance against Togekiss, because now we're just barely missing out on energy. I would have been able to reach another Stone Edge very likely if it wasn't for that. But yeah, here we're gonna see the opponent being double debuffed here, going to help us out quite a bit, as our Groudon now can at least go ahead and try its best. But yeah, if they're going to say swap a Togekiss, it's very likely that in the back there's lurking another Charm user. And if they say swap a Togekiss, there's usually a Charm user in the back that I really don't want to face, which is something that we're going to encounter here right now. It is going to be the Primarina. It's basically always the case like that Primarina is in the back if they say swap the Togekiss, because usually the say swap is Primarina, but because our lead is of course the Palkia origin form, they kind of want to go into the weaker Pokemon. Togekiss is still of course a hard answer to us, but Primarina is just completely walling the Palkia, which is making this Pokemon insanely good. If you saw my tier list as well, Primarina, one of the strongest Pokemon that you can currently run. Here I hate the matchup against the new Dialga, because the new Dialga can actually win this matchup. I want to see if Best Buddy Landorus would be able to win this one without having to go for another charge move, because I'm fairly certain the opponent would have got to another Iron Head in time, which is not the case with the less bulkier Dialga version, so that's a little bit tricky. Here we can go still for a Sensei Storm, get a shield, and even I can still reach a Stone Edge. Do they know that this is going to be a Stone Edge here? They sadly did know, but still, we were able to realign, we were able to get enough energy to also, get both shields from the opponent, and so in comes now a Palkia. Palkia is not going to enjoy the Dragon Tail damage, and all of a sudden, like, our Groudon is an answer for the Palkia, which is just absolutely wild. I can no-shield this one as well, which is great. In comes now the Presses Blade, going to knock them out, and they only gonna have the Ho in the back. But this game is still not over. This game was absolutely insane, because I'm gonna call a bait now. this is going to be a Sacred Fire. I decided to no shield. Look at the damage. I actually thought like maybe I can still survive like 2 Incinerates, and let's see if this is going to be enough. 1 HP and a dream winning this game. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.